All right, good morning, everybody. So today I want to show you how to take your pinch pot that you made, that was 2 pinch pots put together, and to start making it into more of a shell shape. So the first thing that we need to notice is the actual shape of a shell. So pretty much all shells, even though they're all kinds of different shapes and sizes and stuff, they all follow the same basic principle. So first off, they all are a spiral. So every single shell that I've ever seen, that's this kind of a shell, right, goes like this. It starts at the top and kind of spirals down, right? The other thing is when you're looking at it, you can see on the side that there's the gentle bump right here. So this is a big bump, and it's a gentle bump, and it's a gentle bump. But see how they get progressively smaller? So if you start here and you go this way, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. So from the side, it's like a little bump, and then a slightly bigger bump, and then a slightly bigger bump, and then a bigger bump, and then, your biggest bump. So it looks like that from the side, right? So even on this one, like, it still has the bumps, they're just smaller. And even this one still has the bumps and still has the spiral. It just looks more like a triangle spiral, but it still goes big and then smaller and then smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So even the crazy fancy one still has that same basic shape. The other thing to note is that see how this is where the opening is, and see how the line where the opening is goes this direction, okay? One of the biggest mistakes I see students make when they are trying to make a shell shape is they'll put on their little extra piece to make this part, but then they'll try to make the line go this way, okay? So once you have this on here, the line needs to go backwards, okay? Or what looks like backwards. So it's gonna go this way, okay? So that's what we're gonna be looking at today. The other thing that I tend to notice is, depending on whether you wanna do super pointy like this one or slightly less pointy like this one, that's okay. It's all the same process. It just depends on how much you do it. So like here is my basic balloon shape, and I started to show in the last video how you can kind of use this part of your hand to kind of make it pointy. So depending on what shape you want, you could make both ends super pointy, or you could make one end slightly less pointy and then the other end pointy. What's kind of fun about this is while it's still wet, and it's got that air inside, you can really kind of push the shape and really start to make it something kind of interesting, right? And you know what? If you don't like it, then fix it. Try something else. Try something different, right? So that's the best thing about clay. It's just clay. If you don't like it, start over again. So, or, fix it, right? So here's my basic shape. So I'm going to go with, no, I think I'm going to go with more of like this kind of a shape where I have a smaller one of these. I'll go right here, and then it's getting pointier. So that's what I've decided I'm going to do. So now the next thing we're going to do is we need to add on this big opening right here. Okay. So really this big opening, you already know how to make a pinch pot. So I literally made a pinch pot and then I just cut it in half, right? And now I can widen it if I need to, or I can trim it some more. It doesn't have to be a big pinch pot. It could be a small one, but I'm going to decide where I want this to go and what I want it to look like. So I think that will look pretty good. It'll give me a kind of a tighter spiral at the top, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I set it where I want it, and I'm going to mark with my needle tool. I'm just marking. I'm not cutting all the way through, okay? So I'm just marking where I want this to go. Now I'm going to use my fancy tool so it goes a little faster, but you are just going to use your needle tool and it works the same way, right? But for the sake of the length of the video, I'm going to do mine a little bit with this one. So notice how I drew the line, but I'm actually scoring bigger than the line, right? And it's really important that you go in multiple directions, really get it nice and goobery. Same thing on here. Even though I'm using this tool, I'm still, just like I showed before, I'm still like moving it over my finger this way, so that way I can go fairly quickly, makes it go faster. And you still have to cut into the clay. It can't just be a little surface like, oh look, I scored my thing. No, that doesn't work, okay? Score it like you mean it. You want this stuff to stick. Okay, so it's really important that it's really goobery. That's what's gonna keep it together. All right, so now I'm gonna kiss it like a dewdrop fairy. Bing, 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 sweet. And then I'm gonna stick this on here. Now you do have to be careful not to, like, you know, pop your balloon, basically. You don't wanna pop your balloon, but you do wanna get this squished on there. So you wanna see a little bit of the goobery stuff squeeze out, okay? So you really wanna get that on there. Now, one thing I also notice a lot of times is when students do this, they're not real careful with this edge right here. And you want to make sure that you're careful with that edge. So for me, like, I'll use a tool to kind of blend in that spot because I want that to stick real good. Okay. So now the inside here, you kind of don't really have to worry about that too much. If you can see the marks, you can use a pencil or something to kind of like smooth out the inside. You can also change the shape a little bit right here because, like, see how it has this nice little curve? So you can actually like push right here to make that nice little curve, and then you can shove your finger or a tool in there to kind of blend it. So like take a pencil and blend, but you really want to spend some time getting this side super nice. Okay, so we're adding that part on. So we got that. Okay, so I would spend a little bit more time hiding the seam. Now, if you're really struggling to hide the seam, you can always score across the top this way and add on a little baby coil. So I could take a little baby coil that I have scored. I could still kiss it like a dewdrop fairy again with my water or slip, whatever you may be using. And then, but just a tiny boing, 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 ting. And you can stick this on here and blend it in so it makes a nice smooth transition. I'm not gonna take the time to do that right now, but that's how you would do it. And then once you have this all smoothed and you have it in the shape that you want, remember you're gonna go this way, right? So you're gonna see the hole and you're gonna go behind the hole. So I'm gonna see the hole and I'm gonna use my thumb and I'm gonna start to kind of push a little diagonal groove. See what I'm doing? I'm going like this. I'm starting to make the spiral and see how I'm going this way with it. So I'm gonna keep moving around, boo, boo, boo. And I'm adding in that little spiral bit. And when you get to the top, like, you don't have to make it crazy pointy, but you want to be able to kind of clearly see it. Now, if you can't clearly see your line, then do it again, right? Your clay is still squishy. Make it look the way you want it to. So if your thumb is not working for some reason, like if you're like, oh, it's not showing my design the way I want to, my spiral is not showing, Missy. So you can start to see the spiral. Then you could use a tool and you can do kind of the same thing. So you could use a tool to kind of like emphasize that spiral. Really, I like the way my finger looks though. So I'm also gonna kind of squeeze it this way a little bit. All right, like this. Okay, now, like I said, I need to spend some more time and make this part smooth, but you can see how it's starting to follow that curve is going away and around, and I'm starting to get that spiral shape on top, right? So it's going like this. So spend some time, a lot of time, smoothing and making this look amazing. All right, take your time on this step. It takes a long time to make it look really, really nice. So thanks everybody. Go ahead and try it, be creative and have fun.